I guess I have a small gripe with the people that chose to hate on this movie, which is, it's fine. You can hate on a movie, but I would just at least prefer if you saw the movie first before you formed an opinion. It's like the equivalent of a child saying he doesn't want to try corn because it's a vegetable, and he's just not really too sure if it's going to taste good just based off the fact that it's a vegetable. Maybe you should eat the vegetable and you know, get healthy. I don't fucking know. But all I'm saying is maybe you like corn, okay? If you've seen any of Christopher Nolan movies, you know that he puts a lot of care into his movies, and even if you don't like it, you can tell that he is at least trying to do something creative, cool, trying to push the limits, and truly just make a great film. So yeah, going in, I was expecting greatness. And yeah, I got greatness. Christopher Nolan just knows what he's doing, okay? Let's just start off with the casting choices. Even if you don't agree with some of the casting choices, I would say that there was not a single character that really ruined it. Travis Scott, he did stick out a little bit like a sore thumb, but he's in there for like 10 seconds. He didn't stay in long enough for me to be like, hey, that's Travis Scott for like too long. Another person that people were getting bitchy about was Elliot Page. I wouldn't say that he did an amazing job and his acting is so good. I feel like any other person could have definitely played that and did an equally good job. But for the most part, he's in it for like 2 minutes, and it didn't take me out of the movie. All the actors that are in this movie, again, there's some actors that people probably didn't like that are in here, but everyone from that's an A-list actor wants to be in a Nolan movie because he does such a great job, and how much craft he puts into his movies is just impeccable, and people want to work with people like that. So yeah, even the small parts in this movie are pretty much like notable actors, and it does get a little jarring sometimes. You're just looking around, you're seeing all these star-studded people, and then they get obliterated and they're no longer part of the story, or their scene ends and they never come back again. But for the most part, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like watching an Avengers movie and you assemble all the heroes and you get to see them all in one movie. I think it's pretty cool, and why not have a whole bunch of A-list actors? But yeah, they all do a great job. I know people were worried about the accents, not doing like old historic accents of Greek or even British kind of like England accent talking like this. Yeah, people were bitching about the accents. I'm here to say that, hey, the accents, while they might be a little weird in the very beginning, you quickly get used to it and it's not really a big deal. At the very end of the movie, I was definitely not thinking about their accents. So that's not a big deal. Besides the characters that everyone was crying about that were in the movie for like 2 minutes, we do have Anne Hathaway, we have Matt Damon, we have Tom Holland, John Leguizamo, he's also in here, and I would say those are like probably the big four, for the movie. Anne Hathaway does a great job playing the wife of Odysseus, and she's just kind of stuck at this kingdom where a lot of suitors have come to basically try to take her hand in marriage and take over the kingdom because Odysseus is gone. He went to Troy and never came back. There's not a lot for her to do besides kind of sit there and wait for Odysseus, and that's kind of what she does in the story as well. She does a great job in the emotional part. You really feel that she's sad and really missing Odysseus and wants him to be back, I guess. Yeah, let's talk about Robert Pattinson as well. That guy does such a good job. He's come a long way from Twilight. Let's just say that. But in here, he plays a very punchable guy. He plays a guy trying to, get Anne Hathaway in bed, trying to get her married. And he does a very good job at being a very punchable person. The way he delivers his line and is always smirking, but not on top of that, he's just like a coward. He's very weaselly, and he's just all of the bad things all wrapped in one, and he does a great job at being someone to hate. And all the suitors basically do a great job. You hate them all. They're just all assholes. Tom Holland plays a little pipsqueak of a kid, but at the same time, that's kind of what they were going for his character, and I think he did a pretty good job. The acting was good, okay? Everyone from Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, these guys are A-list people. They're gonna do good. I'm not someone who watches a movie and is like really gets into the acting, unless it's like someone like Heath Ledger playing the Joker, and it's like, or like Nikki Navarrete or whatever. What the fuck was Indy Navarrete in Obsession, where it's something like that's crazy. Like their performances are really just out of this world. But the things that interest me most in these kind of movies are, one, the cinematography, 2, the story, and 3, just feeling that the movie gives you when you watch it. So let's go ahead and get into some of that. So this movie makes you feel very grand, it makes you feel like you're part of an epic story that is bigger than life, really. He always goes for a realistic feel. So when you are going against a Cyclops or something of that nature, something scary and huge and out of this world, he doesn't film it in a way where it's very flashy and he's showing it off. Something like a Transformers movie, like from Michael Bay, where yes, it is cool to have these really wide angles, but it doesn't really leave a lot for imagination. And what he does instead is he films this in a POV kind of style, as if you were almost a soldier running away from a Cyclops or in battle at Troy. And he basically mimics the style of something like along the lines of Cloverfield. If you've seen Cloverfield and the monster, the way they showcase the monster in that film, they show it from the perspective of the people getting stomped on in the city. And that's basically what he does here. You don't always get to see the Cyclops in really cool shots that are fully show every body part. You'll see him poking his head through trees. You'll see him running. You'll see just his foot as it smashes someone. You'll see just a hand. The way he chooses to film it leaves some room for imagination. I really appreciated that in this movie. Now, since we're talking about Cyclops, let's go over some of that Cyclops scene, because I know that's one of the more notable parts of the Homer Odyssey, and it's a notable part in this movie, and it's great. It comes across like almost like a horror movie. I know a lot of people have said it already, and I'm going to say it again. It definitely comes across a horror movie. As soon as that Cyclops closes that rock in that cave, horror movie music like starts, and it's just in the background as an ambient noise the whole time, and really just has this feeling of dread, being stuck in this cave with this huge monster that you don't have any power over. And it really has a foreboding, really evil, kind of dark and dreary feel just from the music that Ludwig, the composer, has made. I watched a video or like a YouTube short of Christopher Nolan basically saying that he got some inspiration from someone like Guillermo del Toro on how he creates his monsters and how he kind of grounds them in realism, but still they're still kind of fantastical. And if that is true, and I'm not like making this up in my head, then I could say that, guys, yeah, I could see that in the movie too. When you first see the Cyclops, it looks a lot different from what you would expect from a normal Cyclops to look. He has a very creepy, realistic look, almost like an overgrown man that has been disfigured and just changed in a weird way. There's just so much detail, even like in his elbows. He has like wrinkly, kind of ashy skin and just has this very creepy feel. I really love the creature design for the Cyclops. And then, they travel to different islands and they're constantly just running into other terrible things. There are these giants with armor and they're like these hulking things, and they don't really have any dialogue, but they have an interaction with them that is just, it feels like if you're a cockroach and you're going into a kitchen looking for some food, and then boom, a human arrives and he wants nothing more than to exterminate you and not have you in his kitchen. And that's the vibes they were chasing Matt Damon with and his soldiers, or Odysseus and his soldiers. So they have another amazing standout scene when they go to a witch's island. Without getting into too many spoilers, there is some creepy things happening in this scene entirely that kind of have like a body horror feel, another horror centric part of the movie. And oh my God, the way that they choose to kind of show what she can do to people, I guess we can say, without saying too much, but they do it in a way where it feels like body horror and it creeps you out and you just kind of want to look away and you don't want to think about it. It is super cool. And coming from someone like Christopher Nolan, I was very surprised that he was able to push such a realistic horror feeling, kind of echoing something like Robert Eggers, some really creepy horror stuff in this scene that really stood out. And it's like a scene that if you are sitting with someone and you've already seen it, you just look over and you're like, yeah, check this shit out. The creatures in this movie are awesome. They're not something that's going to stand out and be flashy, but he does it in a way where it's always grounded in reality and it always looks like something that could actually exist in our real world. I think that has a certain flair of its own, because how many times have you guys like watched a movie or watched an anime and you're like, if they could like portray this but really real life, like wouldn't it be, wouldn't that be sick? I don't know, that's just me. Maybe I might be like the only person who does that, but there was a time back in like the early 2000s where everything was getting like just a realistic remake of it, and they never got it right, but this is done right. Another thing I love about this movie is the story. The story is told in Christopher Nolan fashion, where he kind of weaves in and out of past, present, and future, and leaves you with this feeling of like constantly learning new things. And you see something from the past and you think you have the full story, and then only for it to get brought back up later. And then you understand the full complexity of whatever that quote or that scene actually meant. And he does that in here. And I feel like it it's just a cherry on top. It's just like a crazy good way to tell a story, just weaving in and out of the past, present, and future. He has a lot of symbolism with the Trojan horse, and he has a lot of things he's trying to say with these messages that are poured throughout the movie. And I think a lot of the messages are really beautiful because they're not just messages that are trying to like push a narrative or something, but they're just messages about civilization, about life, and how we treat each other, and how people are corrupted. We should basically sometimes let go and live life in a way that we're not trying to control everything. There's just some really cool philosophy type messages in this movie that I could really appreciate, especially on certain scenes when you have like a backdrop of Matt Damon on a raft in the ocean. At the same time, you're getting a very beautiful quote that has all this philosophy behind it. It's just awesome. I eat that shit up. I really, really like that. It almost feels psychedelic at some points because of just all the enlightenment you feel like you're getting just through watching the movie and seeing how everything is unfolding. You really are one within the moment, and you feel everything and you look at everything. I don't know if I'm just hopping on Nolan's balls right now, but man, I really, really enjoy this movie. I thought the set design was really cool. Again, another thing people were bitching about because it wasn't really historically accurate, but I thought everything looked really cool, from the boats to the on-set locations. It just, everything had immense detail and looked just awesome. There's a certain armor that one of the characters, I'm gonna like destroy his name. It's like a Magnamon or a Magnamon. He's one of the kings. They give him such cool armor that straight up looks like something that you would find in like 100 hours into Elden Ring in a dark cave or something after killing the boss. Like I really like that armor, and I'm pretty sure that's probably one of the armor sets that people didn't like, but I thought it looked sick. And he had a really menacing feel when he had that on, and he's just walking. He didn't even have to say much as a character, and he felt really menacing. One thing that I also did enjoy was the sirens and how they're handled in here. You don't really get to see them that much, but it's okay because I think what they did do with the sirens and how they explained how a siren possibly could sound, I thought was really beautiful in a way, and haunting, and just really left a lot of room for my imagination to kind of fill in the blanks on how these sirens are evil and how they kill people. And I thought it was really well done. And again, another psychedelic kind of experience on that part. But yeah, guys, this movie is just epic. There's so many moments that feel so complex, and it feels like going to philosophy class. And I'd have to give that to the original story because all the stuff that he's pulling from is actually from this story. So if there's some philosophy behind it, it's definitely from this story. But he has a way of putting a magnifying glass on it and really just gets you immersed, gets you sitting down and kind of forgetting about life for like a little bit, being a part of a new world. And I feel like that's what movies are supposed to do. The soundtrack in here is also amazing. I'm probably going to listen to it while editing later. It has such a good ambient epic feel to it. That Ludwig guy that he keeps bringing on after Oppenheimer is doing a good job. Hans Zimmer in the making, most likely. Also, the third act of this movie is just Nolan at his finest. It's basically gives you the same feel that The Dark Knight gave you, or The Dark Knight Rises. He does it in all of his films where he starts with like a moment and he just never lets go. The editing is super fast paced and it just keeps kind of building and building and building into a big epic moment. He does that again in this movie in the third act. Insane. I feel like the fighting choreography probably could have been a little better. You know, there's like a big fight, you know, it picks up pace and it swells into this huge fight. But I feel like the fighting could have been a little cooler. But besides that, I mean, it's really cool. It gets you in your feels. There's this monologue that Matt Damon does. It just encompasses the whole movie, kind of puts everything into place. And you really get to look at it from a different perspective. Because up until this point, you have probably been looking at Odysseus a little bit different, but it kind of puts some characters, especially Zendaya's characters, into focus, and you get the whole picture, and it's just beautiful. I don't want to be like lame and use like lame words like beautiful, but it is beautiful. I don't know how else to explain how Christopher Nolan does some of the storytelling in these movies. God damn, beautiful. The Odyssey was great. I don't know what else to talk about. I feel like I covered every single thing. This is going to be a different weird review. I decided not to type this out and just kind of talk from the heart, I guess you could say. Definitely check it out. I'm probably going to do like a spoiler review and really get into some of the nitty gritty of things because I feel kind of like blue balled over here because I can't talk about everything that I want to talk about. But yeah, definitely check it out if you were on the border of not watching it because of the casting choices or because you think maybe Nolan has lost his footing. Just think a little bit, use your brain and maybe go try to watch it and form some sort of opinion actually based on real life experiences rather than something you read on the internet. And yeah, I think your life will be a lot better. But if you guys enjoyed the movie or hated it, let me know down in the comments. I would love to go back and forth with y'all, even if it's some hate stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video. Deuces.